Now, you are well on your way in the process of creating your lean business plan. You have developed your business model and your objectives. The rest of your planning is comprised of defining the tasks needed to reach these objectives. You will begin to look at this in the next section. But before you do that, there is one important thing you must be prepared for. Not everything will go according to plan. Now, there are two main reasons why this is so. The first is that you do not follow your plan. The reason for this could be that you don't have the time to do everything you want to do, or you are unsuccessful with sales or products. This attributes to things you often can influence, and you should handle these as plan deviations. The second reason is that external factors you cannot influence may derail your plan. Your competitor may launch new products or change his prices, or unexpected changes can occur in everything from the global economy to the weather in your catchment area. Surprises that affect your company. We call this risk. When we use the term risk in daily speech, most often we refer to something negative that we wish to minimize. We talk about the risk of an aircraft crashing or the euro will collapse. For us, risk is a more nuanced concept. We use the term risk simply as the chance that something will go differently than expected. And while we strive for predictability, we can prepare for the unexpected. Well, winning the lottery is not something we anticipate either. If we compare to SWOT, we can call the positive risks opportunities and the negative risks threats. And with this as a starting point, we can define risk as the likelihood of an externally created incident that makes things go differently than planned, multiplied with the effect of the event happening. Using this approach, the ability to handle risk will be a very important and relevant part of the business development. And with this in mind, you must describe the most probable of these incidents. John wants to make a list of the risks he can think of. He uses the 9 categories from the business idea and business model. He starts with a partner, Globtech Batteries, and states that there is a risk that sub-vendors will not deliver. He defines this as a negative risk with high probability and medium consequence. The next risk is positive and linked to the value proposition of being the lightest motorized vehicle in the world. Here, John thinks that loaded boards may use their considerable expertise to help making the board lighter. This has a medium probability and a medium consequence. The last risk is linked to the objective of raising bridge financing. The risk here is that the venture market may collapse, so they wouldn't be able to get help from a venture company. This is a negative risk with a medium probability and a high consequence.